When you're dealing with a relationship struggle, this skill often comes up in therapy. If you're battling depression, it comes up. Facing anxiety, work challenges, school pressure, political stress, existential dread, it's a key skill that almost always makes an appearance. It's incredibly important and often marks the difference between people who solve problems and move forward, and those who stay stuck. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, life seems to push back against you? In therapy, I often hear people say things like, "What's the point? It never works out." Or, "Other people have amazing lives, but that's not possible for me." Sometimes people believe they're simply too broken, lazy, stupid, depressed, or anxious to succeed. If a relationship fails, they think, "It must be because I'm unlovable." If work is tough, they tell themselves, "I'm just not as smart as others." This pattern, what I call the helplessness wobble, is the back and forth between feeling powerless in a flawed world and feeling personally flawed. At its core, it's the belief that there's little we can do to change our circumstances, and it often leads to anger, sadness, and a sense of despair. In this video, I'm going to teach you one of the most powerful skills you can develop, a skill I teach in nearly every therapy session. It's the crucial difference between people who feel capable and hopeful and those who feel overwhelmed and stuck. It's the ability to cultivate an internal locus of control. But first, a story. Ben Carson, now a world-renowned neurosurgeon, faced serious challenges long before he saved lives. He grew up poor in inner-city Detroit. When he was 8, his father left the family for another hidden family, and his mother, Sonia Carson, worked multiple cleaning jobs to keep them afloat. Even though they eventually got off welfare, money for food and clothes was always tight. In school, Ben was at the bottom of his class and was often ridiculed as the dummy. He felt deep shame about being poor, missed his father terribly, and struggled with intense anger. He even recounts nearly stabbing a friend during this turbulent period. It was a low point for the Carsons. But Sonia Carson never let her boys give up. She was determined to improve their lives, and crucially, she embodied an internal locus of control. She noticed the wealthy families she cleaned for limited their children's TV time and encouraged reading. Inspired, she required Ben and his brother Curtis to read 2 library books a week and write reports, even though she could barely read herself. She still reviewed their reports, pushing them to take reading seriously. Her constant encouragement and trust in God helped Ben slowly improve academically until he eventually rose to the top of his class. Ben earned admission to a private school where he faced daily racial discrimination. At one assembly, a teacher shamed the white students by pointing to Ben, the only black student, and scolding them for letting someone like him outperform them. It would have been easy for Ben to sink into anger or self-pity, but Sonia reminded him to focus on what he could control: his education. Ben persevered, graduating near the top of his class, then excelling at Yale and Johns Hopkins Medical School, eventually becoming the youngest chief of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins at just 33. Throughout his career, he faced relentless challenges. His infant daughter died. He encountered open discrimination. Patients sometimes asked for the real doctor because they couldn't imagine a black man being their surgeon. Despite all this, Ben maintained a calm confidence, worked hard, and became one of the world's best surgeons. He gained global recognition for his pioneering surgeries, such as separating conjoined twins, earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and later served as U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. So what truly makes the difference in achieving success? It's your locus of control, how much you believe you can influence your own life. Those with an internal locus believe their efforts matter. They acknowledge what they can't change, but focus their energy on what they can. Research shows an internal locus of control is linked with better physical health, stronger mental health, healthier relationships, and greater career success. In contrast, those with an external locus of control believe their fate depends on luck, destiny, or others' actions. They often feel more depressed, stressed, and helpless. But here's the good news. Your locus of control is not fixed. It's not a trait you're born with. It's a mindset you can develop. Ben's mother taught him to focus on what he could change, and that mindset shaped his and his brother's successful futures. Now, a note of humility. This isn't about blaming marginalized communities or minimizing systemic injustice. We fully acknowledge that discrimination, poverty, and inequality are real and significant challenges. However, when we focus only on what's beyond our control, feelings of helplessness grow. Choosing to direct our efforts toward areas we can influence builds strength and resilience. A healthy internal locus of control means recognizing what we can't change and pouring energy into what we can. That's what Sonia Carson did by focusing on education, and it's something you can learn too. Let's start by recognizing the signs of an external locus of control, also known as the helplessness wobble. It has two main sides. First, externalizing, blaming external factors for everything. You might say, I can't get promoted because of my boss, or I can't succeed because of the economy. Blaming shifts all power away from you. Another sign is believing that others control your emotions. They made me feel miserable. Yes, others influence us, but surrendering all emotional control makes us helpless. Second, generalizing negativity, believing everything is awful or the world is going downhill. This mindset feels validating in the short term, but fosters hopelessness. Similarly, viewing yourself as a perpetual victim, carrying an identity of victimhood rather than recognizing past harm, can prevent action. Another trap is believing that success depends solely on luck, fate, or divine will. Saying, "My life will be good if God wants it," ignores the importance of personal effort and decision-making. While external circumstances impact us, internal control brings resilience. Helplessness can even be generational, especially in communities facing historical injustices, poverty, or violence. But even amidst adversity, change begins with the belief in one's own agency. Learning to recognize when we externalize blame, or when we internalize it by labeling ourselves defective, is critical. For example, telling yourself, "I'm just too stupid," is another way of surrendering power. There's a huge difference between using an explanation as an excuse versus using it as an action plan. Jessica McCabe offers a great metaphor. Saying, "I'm short so I can't reach the shelf, someone else has to do it," is an excuse. Saying, "I'm short so I'll use a stool or a ladder," is a plan. Similarly, ADHD isn't an excuse to fail. It's a reminder to build support systems. Understanding externalizing and internalizing is the first step to moving away from helplessness. Now, how do you develop an internal locus of control? There are 4 steps. Step 1. Identify where your thinking patterns sabotage you. Use the template. I can't because kak. Example, I can't stay calm because my boss stresses me out. Recognizing these patterns is the first step. Step 2. Clarify what's within your control. Draw a line on a sheet of paper. Label one side things I can control and the other things I can't control. Example, you can't control who becomes president, but you can vote, get informed, and contribute to your community. Step 3. Explore new skills. Sometimes helplessness comes from not knowing your options. If the coal mines shut down and all you know is mining, feeling trapped is understandable. But asking, "What other skills could I learn?" opens new doors. Similarly, If you've had several failed relationships, maybe it's not because you're broken. It might just be time to learn repair and communication skills. Even severe anxiety doesn't have to be permanent. Techniques like deep breathing, journaling, or therapy can help. Step 4. Take action, even small steps. When facing a bad test grade, avoid blaming the teacher or labeling yourself stupid. Instead, ask, what can I control? Maybe you can study differently, seek help, or join a study group. Healthy locus of control isn't about self-blame or world blame. It's about honestly assessing what you can change and changing it. This approach applies everywhere. Struggling in a relationship, feeling depressed, facing setbacks, always ask, what's one small thing I can do? If you'd like to dive deeper, I've created a free guide. Link is in the description. If this video helped you, a like or comment would mean a lot. And if you know someone who could benefit, sharing this video could truly make a difference. Thank you for being here. Take care.